Hi everyone, welcome back to Angela's Craft Room. I've got a really easy pocket card for you today, and I've been making them in all the lovely new ink colours. So this one is the Dapper Denim and this is the Peekaboo Peach, and the one we're going to make today in the tutorial is Emerald Envy. So it has, I've made my own flowers to go up there, put some of the lovely ruched ribbon round, and then we have this little pocket that's got plenty of places that you can write on. They would be great for like birthday invitations or even a wedding invitations in a wedding coloured themed would be really good. So we'll just get started and I'll tell you what I've used as we go. So to start with, you're going to need, I've used Designer Series paper, the new ink colours. This is Emerald Envy from the 2016 new release, which was on the 1st of June 2016. In the big paper pad, there's a 12-inch by 12-inch, and there's just so many designs in every single in colour that they released in June, so it's a really good one to have. So what we're going to do, I'll just give you the measurements of that. So this can be done in cardstock, but I've decided to do it in the Designer Series paper. That's 4 1/8 inch wide and it's 12-inch long, and then I scored it. It's a bit hard to see the score lines, but I scored it at 5 7/8 of an inch and 10 5/8 of an inch. And then what I did, using the detailed Floral Thinlits that have been very popular, I've just taken this border, and what I did, I pre-did it before I came on camera just to save some time. But what you do is you just place it as high as you possibly can, run that through your big shot, and then you're going to have this like little border at the top. So I'll just pop that away for now. So then what we're going to do is we're going to get our bone folder, and you just fold it on the first score line. And because this is Designer Series paper, we don't want to be too rough with it, even though it's a lovely thick Designer Series paper. We are going to be burnishing the folds, so just burnish those folds, and then at the top where we've made that lovely edge, we're just going to turn that back, and it shows the other side of your Designer Series paper. So that's as how easy it is just to have the little pocket part that we're going to decorate. Now the next step, and I have already cut it out, is going to be a piece of Whisper White. Now that measures 5 1/2 inches by 3 1/2 inches, and then you'll also need a corresponding cardstock, which I'll just grab because we're doing Emerald Envy. So you need the corresponding cardstock, which is 5 5/8 of an inch by 3 5/8 of an inch, and then your Whisper White, which is 5 1/2 by 3 1/2, is going to fit really nicely on that. So all I did with this piece, with the white piece, was from the detailed Floral Thinlits again, I just use this smaller one. So what you do is, you just, when you're die cutting it, you just need to put it to about there at the bottom, and it will go off the edges, that's fine. as long as you leave a little piece of Whisper White at the bottom, then when you run that through the Big Shot and put it on your foam pad and brush, like I've shown you many times, when you take it off, it's going to leave that little piece there, and so then we've just got this lovely cutout. So once, and then we're going to glue it onto here, and it's just gives it that lovely effect there. So one other thing we're going to do, we're going to stamp a border across there. So I'll just grab that. So that is from the Floral Phrases, and it's this border here. So what we're going to do, I've already got it on my, so we're just going to ink it up ever so lightly. So you can see that's, it's got a little bit of ink on there, which I'll just grab my cotton bud. So just decide how you want it to sit, like that. So line up your piece of Whisper White on a grid line, and then just when I stamp down here, I just come down one square on the grid paper, and just down and up. And so you can see that's just going to tie in with the Emerald Envy in colour, like that. So it's quite effective. So then we're going to use our multi-purpose liquid glue. Straighten you up a bit there. So get that running. So we turn it over to the wrong side. You can just see there's a little piece that was stuck on there. So what I do is you don't need too much, just along there first, and then on these sides, I hope you can see, I'm just putting a real little dab there. Now you need it to go right along the bottom edge there, and just in a couple of the wider spots where the die cut's been done. You don't need to put it all over, otherwise you're going to get a heap of glue coming through. So then we're just going to put a little bit up both sides and the top. Just change my hand around a bit so I don't get glue all over me. And then just down, down that side there. You can put a little bit in there, but you don't want too much, otherwise it's going to show through. So then we're going to bring in our piece of Emerald Envy, which measures 5 5/8 by 3 5/8, and we've got our Whisper White, which measures 5 1/2 by 3 1/2. So I just like to line the cardstock up to the grid line, so hopefully this will go down as straight as possible. And remember, it's only showing a little bit of a border, so you want it pretty much up to the top of your cardstock and as straight as possible. And then don't rub it, just tap it down with your hand. Once you're happy you've done that, just turn it over and give it a rub, and that will adhere that multi-purpose glue without making a big mess. And that's how easy it is to make that insert. Might just zoom you out a little bit so that, okay, so you can see that. So we'll just put that to the side. So our next step now is to make the 2 flowers. So I've got one of these little Whisper White, which I'm going to put that center in the middle, and I've cut out the Emerald Envy and a little white one to go in the center of that. So I grab my bone folder and you just pop those little bits out, and you just don't be too rough on them because it might just tear if you're a bit too rough on it, that's all. I just like to just do a little curl like it sits up a little bit, and then with this one I go the other way. I just curl it up. Don't ask me why, it's just how I do it. You can do it whichever way you like. You don't have to do this step. You can just layer them, and that's. Now what we're going to do is just put a real little bit, a dot in the middle there, and we'll do it on the green flower at the same time. And we don't want too much. Might just spread that one out a little bit. Then I like to use my tweezers and I just grab that one. So it's going to go right in the middle. Cotton bud. Just hold it in place, and while we're holding it in place I'm just pulling up those leaves round the outside. Okay. So then we just need a little bit of, not too much, a bit more on there. Then we're going to just pop this flower in the middle, and while that's just adhering with the cotton bud holding it in place, I'm just pulling up the sides with the tweezers. Now the good thing with, as I've said to you before, the good thing with the multi-purpose glue, if you need to move that, as I do, it does give you those few minutes, or a minute, to make sure it's in the center. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is grab my fine tip glue pen, and I want to put a little dot in the middle of there because I'm going to put a rhinestone in the middle. Now you don't have to put the fine tip glue in there because these are adhesive. But when I'm making an order, like this is part of an order, when I start making an order, I like to put the fine tip glue underneath, because then I know that they're not going to come off at all. Like, so just hold that there and let it dry. Then we'll just put a little bit more. You don't need very much. Just a little bit, and then we're going to get another one of the big rhinestones, and you could use the pearls, you could put buttons in there, but when you get a big order for a special occasion, you know, it's a bit different than doing an individual flower. So that's our two flowers done, and I'll just close off the Emerald Envy stamp pad. Okay, so that's our two flowers done. Pop our fine tip glue pen away. I'll do that in a minute, save wasting your time. Now, what we need to do with this, we need to get some glue dots. And what we're going to do is, if I could see where my tweezers, I just pop under this flap, I just pop one there, because this is just going to hold the flap down like that. You know, you could get away with just putting a couple under, but normally I put 3, so like that. And then we take the smallest hole punch from Stampin' Up! As you can, and what I'm going to do is just punch a hole in this side here. So I'll try not to go off camera, but it's a bit hard because I've got to see where I'm punching that hole. You don't want it too far in, otherwise your note card won't fit in. Then I get my paper piercer, and just to make that hole a little bit bigger so I can put my twine through, then I just grab a bit of my Whisper White twine, just cut off the end there because I want it to be able to go through that hole quite easily, and sometimes it's a bit challenging getting it to go through. So just grab my paper piercer and just make it a bit bigger. You could just put a glue dot on the side there as well, and you wouldn't have to go to the trouble of putting some twine through. Sometimes they just go through so easy, and then other times, like now, they're just... So I'll just snip this bit off because it's sort of come unravelled a bit. It's stuck to my finger. So then on that side, all I do is just tie a knot, and it's not a fancy bow or anything. You could just tie a couple of knots. It's just to keep that side closed, because we're not gluing down like all the way down. We've got all that open, so we need to close the card in some way. So this is the way I do it. And if you're making quite a few, the twine is the way to go, because it is very economical in price and you can use quite a lot of it. So like that. So then I'll just cut it where I want it. So just snap that up there. Then I'm just going to grab another glue dot. Now, when you put it this side, you need to put it right on the edge, just right on the edge, if you can see that, right on the edge there. So we're going to be able to fit our notepad in there. Then what we're going to do is grab our rhinestones again and our fine tip glue pen, and I'm just going to put, oh, that came out a bit fast. We only want a little bit, so it's up to you what size. I just have a lot of these large ones. So I'm just going to use these up for this order. So we're just going to put 3 down that side. And it doesn't take very long for that, if we can get it to stay in one spot for just a couple of seconds. It doesn't take very long for the fine tip glue pen to work because it is a very strong glue. So we're just going to pop that down there. Let's hold it in place for a couple of seconds. And obviously what I have been doing, because this is such a big order, I've got to do 30 of them. I'm just going to be, I do them as an assembly line, but I just thought I'd stop and show you how to make one. So that's the pocket finished. So then I'm going to grab some of the Emerald Envy ruched ribbon. Now what you need to do then for the ribbon is to pop a bit of tear and tape in the middle, because no other adhesive is going to hold it as well as the tear and tape will. So we're just going to peel that off, and I turn the card over and I just line it up on the grid paper, and just holding my finger either side of the glue and just find a line on your grid paper so you can, so it's going to come through straight. And then how I've been doing these is I've just been tying a knot, because when you've got to make a few, you don't want to be spending ages making bows. So when it gets to that point, I sort of have a look at it to see which way it really wants to go. I don't fight it, I just let it go which way it wants to go. And then it will need a couple of glue dots underneath. So then I'm just going to tie a bow, and I'm not really that fussy on how this bow comes out, because I'm just, it will go whichever way it wants to go. And I found this is the best way to combat the problem of tying bows, especially when you've got 30 to do. So, and we're going to chop off those tails anyway. So then what I do is I grab my tweezers again, grab a glue dot, and that knot there, I'm just going to put a glue dot under that knot and just see where it wants to sit. Then just chop that. Sorry, I went off camera again. Terrible doing it. So then I've just done that. So then I'm just going to put a couple of glue dots, just one under there, so it stay in place, and one up at the other end. And there's so many glue dots in this packet, like it just takes you forever to go through them. And if you really wanted to, you could even put a glue dot under the tails. because once these go into packets, the ribbon is going to flatten out quite a bit too. So just got a little, so I might just cut a little bit more off that one. I can fiddle with that bow later, but now all we have to do now is put our flowers on. So I'm going to like to put them on an angle. So I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue, and you just need a little dab in the center, and I just do a little on the petals, but not right to the end, just so it will adhere to the card. And because we've used multi-purpose glue, we can move it around and just pick those flowers up. Then just a little emerald envy flower, and maybe just have, I've put a bit too much on there, so just dab it. Now when I put this one in, I like to tuck it under these leaves, so I just tuck it under so it looks more like they're together. It's not like two separate flowers. And there we go. And I think it's a very effective and very easy pocket card to make. And if you wanted to, you could even pop that onto a card base as well if you wanted to. But as I said, these are invitations and this is what they've asked me to do. So then that would just go inside. So that just slips inside. So just remember with your glue dot on the side to try and get it as close to the edge as you can. The same as when you punch this hole. That's the main trick to it, is so that the note card will slide in and slide out quite easily. So I hope you'll give that really easy card a try. I call it my pocket note card. But you know, as I said, you can also then put that onto a card base if you were just doing a single one. So I hope you'll give that one a try, and thank you for spending some of your day today with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next tutorial.